After a morning of what felt like chasing phantom lions roaring all around us, we've got a real actual lion in the flesh. And not only has he not crossed out of our property, he gave us all the slip because he started walking in the direction of the boundary and then lay down, as male lions so often do. So we're very, very fortunate in that it seems as though for now our lion is going to stay on Djuma. Hey boy. And if we're really fortunate, because it's still quite cool this morning, he might even give us a roar, because the other lions have been calling all morning. Those are the ones I've been trying to find. I'm hoping he might decide to participate in that. Our Senzo and I nearly disappeared off your screen for a long time, because remember how I said I have to sit on blankets to see over the bonnet, or the front of the vehicle? Well, I didn't see, in the long grass, a very large hole on my way in to get to him, and we very nearly did not come out of said very large hole. But we did, with actually minimal effort, just some serious squeezing between some broken trees. And there we go, worth any challenge for a sight like this first thing in the morning. Looks like Mfumo to me, from what I can see. So one of the members of the Birmingham Boys, the dominant male lion coalition of this area. And there's something about seeing, well, all things live, I suppose, but there's something about seeing male lions live that is just fantastic. The unpredictability of the way in which your morning can go. He's listening to something. I'm not sure what it is, but there's something that's caught his attention to the west and to the south of us. Could be that that's where the rest of the lions are. Perhaps the females are in that direction. Or he could be listening to the rest of his coalition calling. Just letting everybody know where they are. Phew. That was quite an interesting experience. Right, on that note, while we look at our big male lion, don't forget to send through your questions using the hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. Julia, there is a question I should know the answer to. Good morning to you. Julia would like to know what the average decimal count is for a lion's roar. Should be relatively easy and quick to find out, should it not? We should be able to find out relatively quickly. I can tell you from experience rather than with figures. Oh, we almost thought about it there. Come on, mister. I can tell you from experience that a lion roaring next to the vehicle is a bone-shattering, not shattering, but a bone-shaking experience. The entire vehicle shakes. You can feel it vibrating in your chest. It is an enormously powerful sound. If I had to guess, and I'm going to ask those of you with Google to Google it for me, if I had to guess, I'd put it over 100 decibels. He's listening to the vehicles go past, but every now and again it looks like he might just think about it. Come on, boy, one more before it gets too warm and you want to hide in the shade. But yes, send through exactly how loud a lion's roar is in decibels, and you can do that on hashtag SafariLive on Twitter. I guess I should absolutely know the answer to that, but I don't tend to think of it in those terms. I just think because it's such an awesome experience, I haven't thought about it in a way that we can actually quantify. But of course you can. It's a sound. It makes total sense. Listening all around him. Not fully asleep yet. Now Val, a safari girl, lovely to have you on board and good morning. Val, you want to know how long a lion can go without food. It very much depends upon the condition of the lion itself. And what I mean by that is a big male lion will be able to survive longer than a 6-month-old cub. But I would guess that your average male, or your average lion, could probably go for around about 3 weeks. That would put them in a very, very bad state. Their metabolisms work fast. You've seen how quickly, when we've sat with them and they've gorged themselves to the point that they're so bloated they can barely move on whatever they happen to be eating. And then 2 days later, they are sleek and slim. So their metabolisms do work quickly. And bear in mind, because they can't exactly pop down to the grocery store, once they start to get weak from a lack of food, it's going to get harder and harder for them to actually catch food. So that is also a compounding factor. So I'm not sure exactly how long it would be. It's where the social aspect of lions is also extremely helpful. Just way below to some of the other guests arriving. Oh, there we go, he's thinking about it. There we go, come on, thinking about it. Oh, come on, boy. He's listening to the other male lions roaring somewhere. I can't hear them, but he can. He's almost responding. I don't know why he's not quite. Yes, clean your mane instead. At least your scars have all healed up nicely. Okay, so while our male lion makes up his mind, it gives us an opportunity to answer Mercedes' question, which is how many lion families live in Djuma. Sorry, I keep going silent because I keep hoping he's going to give us a demonstration quickly. Mercedes, on Djuma itself. Okay, let's go into describing lions in general first. So what will happen is you get prides with territories, and prides being made up of the females and their cubs, and then you get either a solitary male or a group of males known as a coalition. And basically what will happen is the prides have their own territories, and then the males will have territories that will encompass the territories of several different prides. And that means that they're not always with the females, they're constantly patrolling, and they move about between the females as well, whenever there happens to be a female in estrus, or perhaps just to join them for Sunday dinner. Within Djuma itself, Djuma is actually quite small, but it forms, not small, I just mean in terms of the scale of this entire reserve. And it actually is the meeting point of two different lion prides territories, and that is the Styx pride, and so they have the 3 females and their cubs, and the Nkuhuma pride, which is the 5 females and their 6 cubs. And then the Birmingham Boy is controlling this entire territory. But bear in mind that we don't just drive on Djuma. We drive on places called Arathusa, Cheetah Plains, Chitwa. So we've got quite an expansive traverse area, all of which essentially is dominated by the Birmingham Boys, and most of which is the area that we see the Nkuhumas in, or the Styx. So the Nkuhumas to the north and the Styx to the south. We're just missing out on seeing another pride of lions called the Torchwood pride, and every now and again we see the Tsalala pride. And Ellen and many others, thank you very much for sending through the decibel question, or the answer to the decibel question. 114 decibels, so at least I guessed in the right range. Oh, there you go. Ambient right up. That's a wussy war. Come on. Come on, boy. You could do better than that. That was about 10 decibels. If that. Guys, where are you? That's a contact call. That's a warm-up to the main event. He's going to roar again. Aren't you, my boy? So 114 decibels at 1 meter. That's impressive. And he's... if I stay positive he's going to give us a demonstration once he's finished scratching his elbow and licking his lips. Frozen mid-scratch, listening. You're going to have to call harder than that, mister. Your other boys are far away. Michael, you want to know why his mane isn't as full as that of the others? You want to know if he's just younger, or if it is genetic in some way? A combination of the two. Because I've always found Mfumo to be quite dominant in the Birmingham Boy Coalition, but that's difficult to say for certain because it changes constantly, and it's not just about size or age, it's about attitude as well. But he's often the one with the most injuries around his face. But absolutely, Nsugu, Nena, their manes are both fuller than that of Mfumo. I think he probably is a little bit younger. And there's also always a slight genetic factor, although each of the Birmingham boys is related to each other. So it's not a huge factor in it. And I mean, it's like watching children grow up. Oh, it sounds as though James has got an unusual bird. We'll be right back here if he starts roaring, but go and have a look before it disappears. Well, I have to say, I really feel as though Byron has got a certain gift for finding little ground lions, or chameleons. I think he finds more chameleons than any of the rest of us put together. I'm very, very impressed, and I'm happy that you got to see one on bushwalk. In the meantime, Mfumo has taken us on, how shall we put this, a safari, a journey through some very dense vegetation, through one dried up river system, and over one stump that I'm hoping is not going to give us a flat tire. And he's done all of it silently, so never fear, you have not missed out on his magnificent roar. And I think he's hiding his head in shame that the only thing that you heard were those little contact calls. Look, he's embarrassed now. It's okay, Mfumo. You're just contact calling. A tack says that there are fresh tracks of another male going south along this road, and that must be what he's doing. He's following along behind one of his buddies. It's all right, you really don't have to hide your face away from us. It's okay. And Miles Bell, lovely to have you. Thank you for sending through your question. You want to know if male lions seek out female lions, since females do most of the hunting. So when the male lions are hungry, do they go off in search of the females? Poor male lions actually have something of a rather undeserved reputation. And that's because if they are in the vicinity, when the females kill something and are feeding off something, then they do barge in, and they do often take the lion's share of the meal. They will eat until they are complete. They'll take the best possible part of the kill, and that's sort of where their reputation comes from, for being relatively lazy and letting the females essentially do all the cooking. It's not the case, though. Male lions are just as equally capable of hunting. They are slightly bigger, slightly bulkier, which means that there's a bit of a bias statistically, because generally speaking, it's another reason why there's this myth that male lions don't do any hunting. Generally speaking, there are more females. They're slightly sleeker and therefore have a slightly higher chance of success rate when it comes to hunting than the males do. However, the males have brute strength. The Birmingham boys have been known to pull down 4 or 5 buffalo at a time. One time, I think Tristan described the Great Buffalo Massacre, and there were 8 different buffalo carcass kills, even before they took over this area as a territory. As far as I know, the first time they were seen on the live safaris was with Hayden and Peter, and they were in the process of catching and consuming large amounts of buffalo. So if he finds himself hungry now, he will go off and hunt for himself. Unless he happens to get a whiff that the females have got a large buffalo somewhere, in which case, yes, he might take a stroll over there and join them for dinner. But he plays a very important role in their lives. Yes, I'm talking about you, see? Flattering your ego a little bit. No, I'm kidding. He's just feeling a bit dozy now. And I've forgotten what I was talking about. That was a big sigh from Mfumo. Completely lost my train of thought. I was listening to something happening in my ear, and I completely lost what I was talking about. Sensor, what was I talking about? Oh yes, male lions joining females for dinner. Nat.Geo, you want to know therefore, well, why is he alone? Male lions often walk alone. He has a very, very important job. That's what I was talking about. He has a very important job to do along with his 3 other coalition mates. They have got to patrol an enormous territory to roar and to scent mark and to essentially make sure that it is kept protected from other male lions, because if other male lions move in, they will kill the cubs of the Nkuhumas and the sticks that have been fathered most likely by the Birmingham boys. So they've got an enormously important job to do, and when you've got a territory that is, if I guess, 8,000 hectares, maybe larger, 10,000 hectares, a relatively large territory, as nice as it would be for all of them to wander around together for as long as possible, for a big male coalition with a big territory, it's very common to see them on their own. It's divide and conquer, essentially, just utilizing their resources. So he'll be in one corner, another one will be in another corner of their territory, and they'll mark and they'll protect it in that way. And they'll come together as well. They'll rejoin, rebond, and I'm sorry, I'm just putting my jacket on, so I might accidentally flick it into the frame. No, I didn't. There we go. They might join up in the course of an evening and then separate again. They might hang out with each other for a little while and then move off their separate ways. Anthony, while we look at the size of his massive paws, just have a little think about how difficult this particular male lion would be to see if you were strolling along. He's basically placed himself right underneath a quarry bush. Now, Anthony would like to know if I've ever run into a lion on foot. Yes, many, 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 many times. 90% of those encounters have ended with the lion getting up and moving away from me, if I've taken them by surprise and if I've got a little bit too close before I've seen them. And a few of them have resulted in some growls and the odd lion charge. We used to, directly before I started working for Safari Live, there was a pair of lionesses that I worked with known as the Tembes. That was because they'd been introduced from the Tembe Reserve in Natal, and they'd been introduced into this area. And the Tembes were unpredictable, to say the least. They came in as just 2. They've now actually created their own healthy pride. But the Tembes either would growl at you when you were 140 meters away, or they would stay silent and then come bursting out of the bush at 10 meters. Now, you never quite know if you were going to get a warning from them, or if you were just going to go bumbling in until they were right next to you. A lion charge is terrifying for people who experience it the first time. It's noisy, it's scary, and the most important thing to remember to do is not to run away. Because if you run away, you trigger their hunting instinct and you're going to be in serious, serious trouble. So the trick with a charging lion is to shout it down, intimidate it. Be large and intimidating. And during the day, that will work absolutely fine. 99.9999% of the time. I have to tell you, I don't think Mfumo's going to get up to terribly much more. Let's head across to James so that he can keep you entertained.